Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. And we're going to get started right now. A lot of things doing. It was a very busy day. So, first thing I want to do is make sure that we are live streaming. And hopefully, everybody's tuning in as we check everything out. So, let me just double check, make sure that we are live streaming. And still have another student or two that would like to get the link for this live stream. All right, so looks like that's it. Let's double check. Still have another student or two that would like to. All right, so we got volume. Everything is working very good. All right, good, ladies and gentlemen. I am Warren Nelson. I am the director of Online Real Estate School Incorporated. I am also the broker and owner of ISSRealty.com. And I'll be giving you the lessons today and helping you to try to make a little bit better decisions on where you want to take a class and learn real estate. So I know I'm trying to talk with you and do two things at the same time, and I do apologize about that. There is one more student that would love to get into the class, and I'm trying to find the link, the telephone number of that student who called to try to get them into the class as well. Let me just take a look at one thing here. And all right. It's not the individual. There's so many students that are going to join the class. All right. It's the way it goes, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't get the link to everybody. I do apologize. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So here it is. This is your look at that. Got to change the background because we're no longer doing the show for the brokerage. We're now going into the class. And so let's get the proper background for the class, ladies and gentlemen. And let's do this one today. Let's go into the other office. Very good. And that'll be working fine. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Online Real Estate School Inc.com. This is the renowned school. Not only are you going to be prepped to take the state exam, you're also going to learn how to run a real estate business. You're going to learn how to invest in property. You're going to learn how to represent clients. You're going to learn how to negotiate contracts. You're going to learn how to negotiate. And so I'm going to teach you all these things. I wish I could teach it to you all in this hour free class, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. So all I could do is give you little bits and pieces, little pieces of the puzzle so that you have a better understanding of what you're going to be taking when you decide to take a state mandated class. A state mandated class, ladies and gentlemen, requires that you have an understanding of real estate practice and real estate fundamentals in order to serve the public. Real estate practice, real estate fundamental. Real estate practice is dealing with the public, dealing with the clients, helping the client negotiate, helping the client go through the procedures from start to finish of the real estate transaction. So the real estate practice portion that the state requires that you take deals with running a real estate business. It deals with representing the clients. And in order to represent the client, you do have to understand the procedures that would be involved. From the minute that we list the property or start working with the buyer, all the way up until settlement when they get the keys and the deed in their hand. So there's a lot of procedures that would have to take place from beginning to end, and knowing how to help your client at each stage of the game and the transaction is what the class is all about. So real estate practice is prepping you to learn how to run a real estate business and learn how to represent others in that process. And in that process, negotiating for them goes a long way. And so I'll teach you negotiating techniques in the classroom as well. We're going to do a lot of live demonstrations in the classroom, courtroom demonstrations in the classroom, and so forth. So you know exactly what to experience out there and how to prevent yourself and keep yourself out of the courtroom by knowing what you can and can't do. So that's the real estate practice. The real estate fundamentals deals with the law. the legality of real estate, federal law, state law, local law, contract law, agency law, non-discrimination law, fair housing laws, the American Disability Act, and so forth. So when you're dealing with real estate and you're dealing with the public and you're dealing with ordinance and codes, building permits, and so forth, then you really have to have an understanding of real estate fundamentals, which deals with the legal aspects of real estate. So the state has a requirement that you take 2 classes and 2 courses, real estate practice and real estate fundamentals. And the state believes that if you're able to pass this state exam on these 2 subjects, then you are off to a great start of learning how to run a real estate business and start representing others, buyers, sellers, landlords, tenants, and so forth. And so this is what you'll be prepping to do. It'll be the most money that you'll probably ever make or made in your lifetime because you are selling the big product. And that product is real estate, ladies and gentlemen. And so real estate is, no matter what you're hearing on television, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what you hear, what you're hearing on television is simply to try to control spending. All right, because we seem to be on a spending spree and we can't seem to settle down on our spending spree. And because we're spending, the government's afraid that we're going to go into a recession, an inflationary period. And so to try to prevent that, what you're hearing on television is to try to stymie spending. All right, but there's no problem in the real estate business, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, interest rates went up a little bit, all right, but it's nothing compared to what we've dealt with in the past when interest rates were 18 to 22% back in the Carter administration for a property, to buy a property then. And so understand what we did then is what we can incorporate now to ride the tide if we're going to have a repeat of the Carter administration, the late 80s, which is the last time we had the situation that you see currently. Now, why is gas so high? There's a lot of reasons, ladies and gentlemen. There is an agenda, a green agenda to try to get us off fossil fuels and onto alternative energy sources. So that is one agenda. And the way that we can probably enforce that agenda is the same way that we did it with cigarettes, where we cashed everybody out by raising the price of cigarettes so high that people said, you know what, it doesn't make any common sense to smoke anymore at $7 a pack. All right. And so they priced you out of cigarettes to make better decisions. And they believe that this technique will work again with fuel, gas, but there's not another alternative, really, ladies and gentlemen, other than fossil fuels. And a lot of states have tried this. A lot of countries have tried that. But I don't want to get off tangent. I want to keep this about real estate. But understand, alternative energy is a lot of real estate. And so is this administration profitable, or let's say positive or negative for the real estate market? And so it's a two-way street, ladies and gentlemen. So understand what you're hearing on television is a control factor for spending, to try to get spending under control a little bit and to try to stymie our expectations. We are certainly spoiled. We certainly want it all, and we want it now. And so because we want it all and we want it now, sometimes like a child who has too much candy, if you don't stop that child from eating that too much candy, then we're going to have a problem later on down the line with the child being sick. So somewhere along the line, somebody's got to step in and tell the child they can't have no more candy. Now, yes, the child's going to cry and whine because they still want more candy, but you know it's the best thing for the child not to be eating no more candy, at least not today. And so you got to be cruel to be kind. And so that's what the government believes, that they're in a position to do the same kind of scenario for our best good, our better good. We'll see how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. You know, you never know how it goes. Mom and dad usually is right, you know, and so you have to see how it plays out. But understand that the real estate market is not really being affected by what you're hearing on the media. There's still a lot of demand for real estate, which means we have lots of buyers out there that still want to buy real estate. And yes, even though the price is going up a little bit, they still want to buy real estate. And they are the wiser consumers right now, ladies and gentlemen, because the followers right now will be saying to themselves and out loud as if they know what they're talking about. Now is not a very good time to be buying real estate. It's best to sit on the fence and wait for a while and see what happens. That is not a rich man's game, ladies and gentlemen. And so if you want to sit on the fence and watch what everybody else is doing, you're not going to be doing much achieving. I can tell you that right now. And I always try to tell everybody to watch what other people do and do the opposite. You could be a follower or you can be a leader. And the followers were the last 2 years, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what drove the market up. So much demand, but it wasn't just the demand for real estate. There was a lot of other factors like the pandemic and the lockdowns. And that pandemic and lockdowns were very, very strict in some states like New York and to a more magnitude than Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And so the lockdowns were extreme. And many people started leaving state during the pandemic that were overly restrictive in their lockdown. And so you had a mass exodus out of New York. There was a lot of crime rate, a lot of protesting, and people who were paying taxes in New York felt like they were the fools for paying taxes because they were certainly not getting anything for their tax revenue, and there was services were being taken away from the government for the taxes that they had already paid, and they're not getting that. So there was a mass exodus out of New York, New Jersey, and other states like Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Florida prospered by an influx of that new activity. So some states like New York and New Jersey didn't fare so well during the pandemic and lost a lot of population. And their real estate market has been affected because now only the top part of the real estate market is still hanging on in New York by a thread, but New York is in a world of trouble. Same thing with California and Washington, ladies and gentlemen. During the pandemic, there was a mass exodus out of those two states, and they were going to Arizona and Texas. They were the recipients. So in the real estate business, it is supply and demand. With any business, not just the real estate business, any business, supply and demand. I don't care if you're a manager at a local drugstore. If you don't know what we need on the shelves, what's selling and what's not selling, then you don't understand supply and demand, and your business is going to suffer. So one of the things that we talk about in the class is supply and demand. And how are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? And so knowing supply and demand. Supply is our inventory, all the available houses for sale, all the available real estate, commercial and residential for sale that's available. That's known as our supply. And demand is all those who would like to purchase these properties. So we have more demand than we have supply. We have more buyers than we have inventory, and that drives the prices of real estate up because we have more demand, more buyers. So let me give you an example. I have one iPhone and 20 people who want to buy it. Is the price of the iPhone going to go up or go down? Since we got 20 who are bidding for it, the price is going to go up. But let's change the scenario. Now I got 20 iPhones available and only one buyer. Now what's going to happen to the price? The price is going to go down. So supply and demand have a direct effect on the value of real estate if it goes up or goes down. The stock market, interest rates, consumer confidence, they have very little play on the value of real estate. All right, not the demand or those who can buy it, but has very little play on the value. So if interest rates go up, it really doesn't affect the value. It might affect somebody's ability to buy it, but it doesn't affect the value. And so you're not seeing values of property coming down at all, even with the doom and gloom turbulent talk of no results. And that's unfortunate for this administration because this administration has nothing to fall back on, nothing to hang its hat on, and no direction for the future. A lot of whining and crying, a lot of whining and crying. And now because we didn't get our way, we have to change all the rules and laws and everything because we lost this one. A lot of whining and crying, but you're not seeing a lot as far as results or anything to produce better results in the agenda. So there's the problem. You know what that's called, ladies and gentlemen? That's called management. And if you can't manage your household, you can't manage your business, you can't manage your affairs, then it all falls apart. And everybody knows that you're a mess because you can't manage anything. You can't manage the day, you can't manage your time, you can't manage the thought, you can't manage to take a moment. And so everybody sees that. And that's what's happening right now with our country and our administration, that they don't seem to be managing this situation very well, and it seems to be noticeable. And so these are the things, and people talk, people judge, all right? You'll be judged in the real estate arena. But unfortunately, the point that I'm trying to get to is that the administration has a direct effect on the real estate market, ladies and gentlemen, and that perception is what we have to work with in the real estate business, because it's easy to fool someone. It's easy to convince someone that they're a genius, that they're the smartest thing since sliced bread. All you have to do is tell them that, and they will believe it. And if you tell it to them long enough and over again, they will believe it. And so it's easy to fool our society, and it's easy to get our society at each other's throats. Because when we're cranky and we don't get that candy, the little baby, then the little baby could start a lot of pain and suffering because they didn't get what they want. And so you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that this is what we're dealing with. When I teach you about real estate, I'm going to teach you about the different generation gaps. There's the baby boomers, those over the age of 55, 56 years old. They're known as the baby boomer generation. Then there's Generation X. Then there's Generation Y, 2 recessions. We're going back to the Carter administration on the Generation Y. So we had 2 recessions on the Generation Y. Then we have the baby boomer generation. Then we have the millennial generation, and then Generation Z. So in the real estate business, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand we're not just working with different age groups. We're also working with a global community. And our society is very global today. There's different nationalities of all kinds. And when there's different nationalities, then there are different beliefs, different structures, like my Islamic community. My Islamic community does not believe in paying interest. That's called usury. They don't believe in usury. They're not usurious. So I have to find a way called Sharia or Sharia compliant financing for my Islamic community. My African community, they don't part. The family, the children don't move out. They stay into that tight network for a very, very long time. And so most Americans are used to leaving the nest at a certain age and starting on their own journey. But certain nationalities, certain cultures don't have the same philosophy. They stay together, tight-knit forever. Certain things like my Filipino community, they don't like to sign anything, but unfortunately in this situation, they have to learn that in this state, this country, they have to do a lot of signing because it's contract law. And we talk about that in the class as well. At my Israeli community, it's a lot of chatter negotiation because you're dealing with many at the same time. None of it's wrong, none of it's the meaning of what you do have to understand that in the real estate arena, that you will be dealing with different age groups and different nationalities and different religious backgrounds that you will have to learn to incorporate into your real estate business. So it's more than just learning the ins and outs of the book. It's learning the real estate business. And when you come to my class, I delve you into something like this: the culture and the generational gaps of your business, your customers, your clients, and how to deal with your new customers and your new clients in your real estate business. And so my school is a little bit more notorious for not just prepping you to pass an exam. And so we talk about this quite often. I have many brokers that love the class that I teach because it's an 8-week class, 4 weeks for one subject, 4 weeks for the other. And this is not a quick 3-week class that most brokers hate, because they know that if you take the 3-week class, you could test well, but what about real estate? How much real estate do you know? How much could you have possibly learned in a 3-week period? And so the brokers already know that your stock is low when you come from an online course or a 3-week course. The brokers already know what they're getting. And so you have to keep these things in mind, that the school that you go to, ladies and gentlemen, is going to have a very big effect on your real estate outlook, your career, your jumpstart, and how you get started. If you go to a school that has very bad reviews, low ratings, or no reviews at all, then you're beta testing for the most part. You have to decide if this school is going to be for you. But the only way that you get to decide with that school is you pay for it first. And then after you pay for it, then let us know, did you like it or didn't like it? And so that's how that process works with a lot of schools. I think I'm one of the only schools, ladies and gentlemen, that does this pre-class, this interview process. So you get to see me, my style, my techniques, and make a better decision before you put any money out as to whether this school is good for you. Is my teaching style acceptable for your learning skills? So I run this free class every Monday at 6 p.m. To try to introduce the students to the instructor and give them a little broadside inside information about what they're going to be learning in a classroom and why they need to take real estate practice, why they need to take real estate fundamental, and what the state already knows. They know that this is not the first rodeo, ladies and gentlemen. So the state knows, in order for you to earn income in the real estate arena, knowledge is power. And you can't fake this, ladies and gentlemen. You can wing it. You can wing it for a little while as you're learning, so you can play along and act like you know things as you are learning. That's okay, but you can't fake it. You can't pretend to know what you don't know. Real estate has a different language, ladies and gentlemen. Lawyers have their language, doctors have their language, law enforcement has their language, and real estate has their language, ladies and gentlemen. And so you'll have to understand a lot of things, what you can and cannot do with a real estate license and without a real estate license. There's a lot of things that people think they can do: wholesale, retail, flipping, never take ownership of the property, flip it and make $5,000. That's completely illegal, ladies and gentlemen, for many, many reasons. One is you don't have a real estate license, so you're practicing real estate without a license, which is a criminal offense. You can't practice law without a degree and a license. You can't practice medical without a degree and a license, and you can't practice real estate without your degree and your license, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a criminal offense to be practicing real estate without the license, first of all. And that would fall under the Attorney General's office here in Philadelphia, or the state of Pennsylvania. It could also fall under federal law, depending on the real estate transaction you might be involved in. So understand that's the first mistake. The second mistake is you're expecting compensation on this wholesale retail flip. Somehow or another, you're expecting somebody to hand you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on this wholesale retail flip. Well, from who? Who's giving you the $5,000? The buyer, the seller? And if the buyer or the seller's giving it to you, then what type of representation are they expecting for the $5,000? They don't expect you just to find a buyer or a seller and put it together. And again, even if they did, you're not licensed, you're not legally allowed compensation. So you know what will happen on this deal, on this wholesale retail? When we get to the settlement table to transfer the deed, the title company will not allow any illegal expenses to be allowed on the HUD-1. So anything that is not legal, then the title company cannot comply with it. Even if it's in the contract, ladies and gentlemen, if the contract does not apply with state law, if the contract is in violation of state law, then the title company does not have to follow the closing instructions, because the closing instructions violate state law. So even though the contract might say somebody's entitled to it, the title company is not going to be giving compensation to an unlicensed or an illegal entity that's not entitled to it. What it will happen is that money will stay in escrow until the underwriter of the title company feels fit to legally release the money so that there's no liability issue later for an unlicensed entity during the transaction. So wholesale, retail, flip, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you right now, most likely it's illegal, most likely. How about the assignment? Assignment of contract, assignment of mortgage. Assignment of contract, no. Assignment of mortgage, yes. And I'll teach you how to do owner financing, seller financing. Because if the banks start to get so concerned that the risk is too high, that they are not going to make any loans, then how are you going to be in the real estate business if the banks are not making any loans? Well, that's easy, ladies and gentlemen. It goes back to the owner financing, seller financing. You know, long before we had the banks, it's the way that we did it. We did it with an old barter system before we had the greenback, before we had any of this means of exchange, and certainly way before digital currency. But again, ladies and gentlemen, all that ends, digital currency ends, the greenback ends, Federal Reserve note ends, we will still have the human, the citizen, to barter and exchange for food and services and so forth. So we really don't need the financial entities, ladies and gentlemen, to make a lot of money. But if they all come to an end tomorrow, how would you be able to still be in the real estate business if the bank stopped lending tomorrow? And this is what I teach you. I teach you creative measures, creative financing. Everything is legal. Everything is compliant with state law. There is no slim shady with me, ladies and gentlemen. So a lot of classes will teach you techniques. That's a big word you got to watch out for. Oh, we'll teach you different real estate techniques on how to flip properties and how to do that. Techniques, ladies and gentlemen, is a key word, a giveaway word of you're trying something that isn't known to be proven to work. These are techniques. Try them out. Let us know. You're beta testing. Let us know. See if this person in foreclosure will be willing to do this. See if this person at auctions willing to do that. All right. So they give you a lot of these techniques that you might try, and you never know. Maybe one of them will work. But do you want to rely on maybe one of them will work, or do you want to rely on a proven technique that'll work over and over and over again? So it gives you a steady form of income. It gives you the stability that you understand, which is residual income. That is the name of the game, ladies and gentlemen, residual income. The whole reason that you're getting into real estate is because you have that aspiration of the money going into your bank account each and every month with you doing very little effort. And this is true, but it's by design. You just can't be getting into the real estate business, buy a bunch of properties, have it in your portfolio, and you become the landlord. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're already done. You're already done. Once you become the landlord, then it's work. Then it's a lot of pain and suffering. Then you got to pay the taxes on the property. You got to pay the insurance on the property. You got to deal with the eviction. So being a landlord is not the glamorous events that you might think it is, ladies and gentlemen. And you're on a very limited return of investment. One bad month, 2 bad months, and there goes the whole year of your investment. So you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that there is a way to invest in property where you are not the landlord. You don't pay the taxes on the property. You don't pay the insurance on the property. You don't have to change a light bulb, mow a lawn, or take a late night call. And all you do is get residual income every month. The money comes into your bank account like clockwork. And you still have the power of the deed. Should anything happen with the investment, you get the property back. So this is the way that I teach you how to invest in property, by having complete control. Even if there's no financial institution, no bank, no credit union involved, then with my techniques that I teach you that are proven, that have worked for 30, 40 years, and they're all legal, then these, ladies and gentlemen, are those techniques that I warn you about that you should actually apply with. So state required class is a very good foundation to start investing in real estate, because you're investing in yourself first with a bona fide class that's not trying to get you rich with different techniques, but to teach you what you need to know by law so that you can do real estate. And that's really what you want to do. If you really want to do real estate, ladies and gentlemen, and you really want to master the game, and you really want to be profitable and you want to leave a legacy, you want everything to work streamlined, then don't make the mistakes of doing it backwards and trying to make the money first and then learning real estate. Doesn't work that way, ladies and gentlemen. You have to invest in yourself first. You need the knowledge, you need the education, and then it does come easy, but it comes with the knowledge and the education first. So let me give you some examples of what you're going to learn in the class before we take a little break. We're going to go over a few things. I gave everybody a question today in this event, and the question was, and we'll talk about it a little later, we're not going to get to the answer now, but the question was, ladies and gentlemen, if you buy a property here in Pennsylvania and you get a 30-year mortgage to buy that property, do you own that property day one, or do you own that property 30 years later when you make your final payment? So that's today's question, and we'll get to that before the class ends. And think about it. So you're buying a property, $200,000. You got a $180,000 loan on the property. Do you own that property today, or do you own that property 30 years later when you make your final payment? All right, so that's the question for the day. Let's talk about a few things that you're going to need to understand. First of all, let's talk about fundamentals, the law. Understand that no property is exempt from government takeover. If the government wants your property, ladies and gentlemen, they can take it. So no property is exempt from government takeover. The power that the government has to take your property is called eminent domain. Eminent domain. And so we'll talk about eminent domain in the class. It's certainly one of the things you're going to need to know for the state exam. And eminent domain is the power of the government to take your property for a public purpose. Condemnation, another word that you're going to need to know for the exam. I told you we got our own language. Condemnation is the process by which the government can take the property. So eminent domain is the power. Condemnation is the process. Now, when the government takes your property, it has to be for a public purpose, the good of all. As Spock used to say on Star Trek, the needs of many outweigh the needs of one. Well, this is true. And the government sees it that way as well. The needs of many outweigh the needs of one. So if the expansion of a major highway like I-95 needs to be done to widen the lanes, and in that process of widening the lanes, we have to take a few houses that are now in the track of the expansion of I-95, then the government has the right to take these properties for the expansion of I-95, no ifs, ands, or buts. There is one, however. The government doesn't have the right to steal the property. When the government takes the property through eminent domain, they have to compensate the owner fairly for the property. This is known as just or fair compensation. So no property is exempt from government takeover. The government can take your property if they want it, but the rule is that the government can't steal the property. They have to give the owner fair market value for the property. And so we'll talk about in class, how do we determine fair market value for the property? And the answer will be appraisal through a 3-tier appraisal process. Government will have appraisal done, the owner will have appraisal done, we'll have a review appraisal done to come up with a final value. So you need to know the legal process of how the government can take your property. Why would the government take your property? Well, the expansion of I-95, the building of Roosevelt Boulevard, a building of a housing authority, housing units. They have the government power to take private property for housing authority homes. So you need to understand these things, ladies and gentlemen. What does the government have the right to do? What don't have to do? What do we pay property taxes? Why? And what does the property taxes pay for? So understand, most people believe that they pay property taxes based on the value of their home. That would be another misnomer. That would be incorrect. You do not pay property taxes based on the value of your home. You pay property taxes based on the value of the budget. And what is the budget? Well, that's whatever it is. Let's say you're running the city of Philadelphia, and we need $20 million this year to run the city of Philadelphia, to pay the fire department, to pay the police, to pay the trash pickup. And so we want these services. And this is why we pay property taxes to pay for these services, our trash pickup, the police, first responders, and so forth. So knowing why you pay property taxes and what your taxes are based on comes down to knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, and education. All these things you will be learning in the classroom. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I teach my students real estate, I give them the confidence that they need to go out. And I got such a great platform going, ladies and gentlemen, and I can't take a lot of credit for it, to be honest with you. It kind of developed as we went along through trial and errors. And so through the years of teaching this class, it didn't happen overnight. It happened by development. And so now a lot of my students, what would happen is after they spend 75 hours with me, 2 months with me, and they love the routine and the camaraderie and everything, they would go out and interview brokers, and it was a whole different feeling, a whole different atmosphere. And the students were like, can't you do something? Can't we come work for you? And so I got enough requests over the years because I kept saying, I want to retire, I want to retire, I want to retire. And I do want to retire. But Lord who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment. Because of all the requests of my students, I started ISS Realty. ISS is Realty. And this, and it's working out beautifully because it's designed to take brand new agents who just received their real estate license and teach them on the job now. So now we take you, we put you with a client, we put you in the property, we put you in the middle of the contract, and now we teach you how to run a real estate business while you're running a real estate business and earning money. So now, because of ISS Realty, I can take my students after they graduate the state, no recruiting during class. We'll talk about compliance, ladies and gentlemen. You have to comply with the rules and the regulations. I'm a big believer in compliance, and we'll talk about your fiduciary responsibility. And if you understand your fiduciary responsibility, then compliance will be a big part of the business ethics and what I teach you. Do it right or don't do it at all. Don't try to do any shortcuts. Don't try to do any workarounds. That never works out, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll teach you exactly what we have to do from the beginning to end, and that's what the state requires. So what I do with my students is after they pass the state exam, after I've done my job and I gave them the education, the knowledge, and the confidence to go and pass the state exam, now they want to go to work for a broker that's going to take a brand new agent and teach them, what do we got to do first? What's next? What's first? How do I get the buyer? How do I get the seller? What's the difference between this? How do I do that? Do that? And so there's a lot of questions. A lot of brokers don't like working with brand new agents because there's a lot involved there. There's a lot of effort and energy expelled into a brand new agent. And a lot of brokers don't want to put this energy and effort into new agents. And so they kind of look for qualified agents who are seasoned, that have numbers, that they have years of profession. That's what a lot of brokers are looking for now. So I cater to the brand new agent, or the agent is with another broker and hasn't done one single deal with that agent since they've been there. Then you're with the wrong broker, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're not making any money with the broker you're with, then there's a reason for that. And so time for make a change of a pace. I have a lot of agents that work with my brokerage because I started with 80/20. This is basically what I do because I'm teaching you brand new agents exactly how to run the business. But some of the agents that I have right now at 80/20, ladies and gentlemen, left the brokerage where they were making 100% commission. Why did they leave the brokerage where they were making 100% commission to come to me at 80% commission? Because 100% of nothing is nothing. And so even though you're being offered 100%, if you don't know how to run a business, you don't know how to run and generate new clients, then you got no business. So 100% of zero is zero. And so I have a lot of those agents who are leaving the 100% brokerage to come to me at 80%, because 80% of production is a lot better than 100% of nothing. And so this is the way that it works, ladies and gentlemen. I lay my cards right on the table. I tell you exactly what I'm going to do for you. You're not working for me. I'm working for you. My job is to help you get your business up to the next level. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen to some of my students and see the confidence and tell me if you believe that they're ready to rock and roll.
Well, this school was the only school with 5-star reviews. I did a lot of research.
The information that you give us is just like amazing.
I had a family member that attended your school and they just spoke wonders about you.
I think like most of everybody in the class, it was the reviews for me.
After reading your reviews and just trusting my friend, he said, you're 100% the way to go. And I do not regret it at all whatsoever.
Your school is amazing.
Talking to you, it was within my expectations.
And the broker knows like, okay, this person, wherever they're going to school at, they know what they're doing. Once I talked to you and spoke to you, I was just like, okay, I think this is the right school.
Personally, I have a very good friend that's actually in the real estate business already a broker. He actually recommended you to be a teacher.
Like served as a mentor, just as many others have said. So it's been a pleasure. It really has.
After your classes, I become like more knowledge and it's great. It's great joy because
You care about all your students.
He's more than a teacher. He's a mentor. He's someone you look up to.
And you're a great teacher, to be honest with you. You slow down when people have a question. You review things as many times as we need you to.
But you take this time, you actually read to us to get to know and understand this. And I am so ready.
very glad that I chose your school. It's online school, so it's great for me because you don't have to travel anywhere. I just choose you and it was it was a great time.
I thank you, and I will take this class over and over and over and over and over.
One of the best teachers ever.
This would be really good for me. And then I think what really put me in was once I talked to you on the phone.
I did see the 5-star review. I did look around a little bit.
I mentioned you and your school is like really a lot of people knows about your school.
And I was a little bit skeptical because 5-star reviews, no business, no nothing has 5-star reviews. But it worked out amazing and I'm happy I chose the school.
But the information that you give, that you get more than a lot of teachers out there get. Oh, absolutely. I think the school actually really went beyond my expectations.
I cannot thank you enough for the experience and this preparation to run my own business.
It's like more information that you give us, the more knowledge. I just lock that into my brain, and I know I'm just going to get out there and achieve a lot of things. Working with you has been a pleasure. It really has. You served as a mentor.
And I would definitely recommend it to anyone who is looking into any kind of real estate development.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have a lot of comments come through as we're on commercial. I'll go over some of them in a second. So there's my number, direct number, 267-972-1084, 267-972-1084. And of course, my website, ladies and gentlemen, onlinerealestateschool.inc.com. onlinerealestateschool.inc.com is the website. So lots of questions, ladies and gentlemen, about the class, when is it going to start and so forth, and the compliments in the comments. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I very much appreciate the comments. And I see I have a following. I started this show just to be an introductory show for students who are looking to join a class. But it turns out that you get quite a following as time has gone on. And I see many questions that you are having, ladies and gentlemen. And so we'll talk about some of them. Let's talk about some of these right now, ladies and gentlemen. What's the difference between a mortgage and a deed? What's the difference between title and deed? And what's the difference between an agreement of sale and a deed? So it's interesting that we get these questions because they do get confusing. So let's take the first one. What's the difference between the mortgage and the deed? Now, the mortgage is a loan, ladies and gentlemen. And when you get a mortgage to buy a property, then the property becomes collateral. It means it's security for the loan. The bank's name's not on the deed. But the property becomes a security instrument. If you don't make your mortgage payments, then the bank has a right through the mortgage to foreclose on that security, which is the property. So the mortgage is a loan, but the deed is the ownership of that property. And so do not get the mortgage and the deed mixed up. So what? You got a mortgage. That's a loan. Has nothing to do with the deed ownership of the property. Now, We'll talk more about that because that relates to our today's question. And so I'm being a little vague there because it'll lead to today's question. Now, the second part of the question, what's the difference between deed and title? Now, that's a very good question because you hear title all the time in the real estate business, but understand we do not sell property by title. We sell vehicles by title, but we sell property by deed. The deed is the written instrument. The thing that transfers the ownership of that property from the buyer to the seller is the instrument known as the deed, the written instrument, the legal instrument, the deed. But title is a process of making sure the deed is good. A title search, a title report, title insurance, title commitment, abstract title, all these things are a process to make sure that the deed is good. So when we hear deed and title in the business, there is a difference. We do not sell property by title. We sell property by deed. We sell vehicles by title. And so the difference between the deed and the title is one is the legal instrument that transfers ownership. The other is a process of making sure the legal instrument is good. And so we'll have many variables like that. Now, the other question was, what is the difference between the deed and the agreement of sale? Well, the agreement of sale is the beginning process. It starts with an offer, and if that offer is accepted, then it becomes an agreement of sale. An agreement of sale is between two parties, mutual assent, mutual agreement. So the buyer agrees to do something, the seller agrees to do something, so we have a mutual agreement. This is known as an agreement of sale. You do this, I do that, and then we can transfer the property. And so the deed comes in when we're at the very last stage of the property. The agreement of sale is to buy the property and do this and do that. You fix the roof, I'll do the electric, you pay me, I'll do 200,000, I'll do 192. So we negotiate all that. And so that's all through the agreement of sale process of negotiations. But when we get to the final stage, when all the negotiation is done and said, and we can legally transfer the property, and the buyer can legally do what they want with the property, then that is when they receive the deed to the property. When the title company can follow the closing instructions, then they can transfer the property. So the agreement of sale is the beginning process. The deed is the results, the ending process. Now, ladies and gentlemen, quite a few things that you would need to know. Like the next question that I have here is, can you do commercial real estate with your real estate license? The answer is yes, ladies and gentlemen. You only need one license in the state of Pennsylvania, which is called a real estate license. And that real estate license will allow you to sell and represent residential buyers and sellers, as well as commercial buyers and sellers. So even though one license will allow you to do two separate categories of real estate, you do need to understand there's a different knowledge, a different education that goes with understanding how to do commercial and how to do residential. And yes, of course, we'll go over all those things in the classroom so that you understand the difference between a fixture and a trade fixture or chattels, when you need to be out of the property and so forth. So we'll go over all the legal ramification, and a fixture is real, stays with the property. A trade fixture is personal, leaves with the property on or before the last day of the lease. Let me give you an example. You're moving into an apartment and you put in a new awning over the front window of the apartment. That stays. That becomes the owner's property. That's known as a fixture in the residential arena. But in the commercial arena, you need this oven for your pizza business. So you apply the oven into the rental unit, and that's known as a trade fixture. It doesn't stay in the rental unit. When the pizza parlor goes out of business or relocates, it may take the oven with them. That oven is known as a trade fixture. So one of the things that we'll be teaching you is the difference between a fixture and a trade fixture. Another thing that we'll be teaching you, many things we'll be teaching you, is the difference between severance and annexation. Or annexation means attachment, severance means to separate. One takes real property, makes it personal. The other takes personal property and makes it real. They're also going to be learning things like air rights, subsurface rights, surface rights. So you'll find out, ladies and gentlemen, when you take this class, that you don't only just own your real estate property, you also own the land, everything below the ground, and everything above the property in the airspace. You also own these things. And you might not know how valuable that real estate is that you have below the ground and above the ground. One's called air rights, the other's called subsurface rights, and there's surface rights. Understand, Pennsylvania is very rich in mineral rights, ladies and gentlemen. Coal, oil, gas, shale, all these minerals that are underneath the ground have a lot of value. And if you are lucky enough to have a property that has these minerals underneath the property, then you own them as well. We'll talk about interest, like a timeshare. You don't buy property under a timeshare, you're buying an interest. You get to use this property 1 week out of the year. So we buy property by deed and we buy property by interest. So all these things you'll be learning in the classroom, and many other things. Oh, one other thing, ladies and gentlemen, as I say many times, once you become a member of the alma mater, once you enroll in online real estate school and you take the class, that class that you paid for, that you took, you never have to pay for it again. You may take that class over and over and over again until you are confident that you know what you know. You may take it over and over and over again free of charge. You never have to pay for my class again. Once you pay for my class, you pay for it once, and you may take it 5 years from now. You want to come back to the class again, free of charge, you're in. That's the way it works with me, ladies and gentlemen. So you become a member. Many of my students are past students that love the camaraderie. They love the atmosphere, the environment, and they come and sit into the class to refresh and learn a few things, or to be part of that social gathering that we've built up with online real estate school. The students are absolutely a big part of the family, and they love the atmosphere. And this is why I had to start the brokerage to take the students that were so happy with the atmosphere in the classroom arena to make it a real life classroom arena outside the classroom, and continue learning how to do real estate. So I've incorporated that. So let's get down to business, ladies and gentlemen, before I run out of time, because I always like to keep teaching and teaching and forget that we have enrollments that we have to talk about. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our next class starts July 19th. That is our class. Now it's 4 weeks, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for real estate practice, and 4 weeks, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for real estate fundamentals. My classes are only 4-hour classes, but they're really 3.5-hour classes because we get a half-hour break. And so these 3.5-hour classes, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, go fast. And before you know it, the month's already over. And before you know it, the second month's already over. And it was such a great learning experience that it went too quickly for you. You thought 8 weeks was going to take forever. And before you knew it, you were learning so much that 8 weeks flew by. And so that's the difference between my class and most schools. Most schools, you barely can stay awake. You're bored at your guilt. That will not happen in my class. Now, I'm not saying you won't fall asleep in my class, because most of the students that take my class are entrepreneurs. You got a different blood pumping through your system. You're an overachiever. And that's what I love about running my class. So my class is for those who are already with a different blood pumping through their veins. And so those students, the only reason they would fall asleep in my class is because they're an overachiever. They are doing so many things. They're working 2-3 jobs and squeezing in the class as well. So if anybody ever falls asleep in my class, it's only because of their overactivity, and they're legitimately exhausted, not bored. And so in my class, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be learning a lot of real estate in ways that you probably never even imagined. I bet you a lot of things you think you could do in real estate right now, it's going to find out you can't do that. So that's where my class is, ladies and gentlemen. So back to the basics. July 19th. This is the next class. It's filling up. See, this is usually not the best class because of the summer break. But ladies and gentlemen, it's a different world that we're living in, and people understand that now's the time. And so my July class is actually filling up. And this is usually my worst time of the year, but you would not know it this year. All right. So July class is filling up quickly. I offer 2 classes. I have the morning class, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I have the evening class, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. The class is just like you see it right now, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a live streaming class. The only difference is you get to see all the other students who will be in the class right now, besides just me. And then you get to commingle with the other students. You get to share notes. We get to do a little role playing with the other students and so forth. So the students that will be in your class, ladies and gentlemen, don't be surprised if they're in your sphere of influence for many, many years to come down the line. And that is the atmosphere. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the morning class, 9 to 1, the evening class. Now, I'm probably the cheapest, probably not the cheapest because I don't want to be the cheapest. But I do want to be the least expensive. And that's what I try to do. Unfortunately, my accountant and we don't always see the same business philosophy. I would like to be the least expensive, but my accountant would like to keep the bills paid. And so my accountant kind of weighs out. So we might not be the least expensive school, but I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, read the reviews. You're going to get more than your money's worth on this deal, that's for sure. So it's $299 for real estate practice, which is a 4-week class. And then the following month, it's $299 for the other class, real estate practice, real estate fundamentals. Now, I broke it up this way. Instead of your student having to come up with $598, which a lot of students will have struggled to do, then I make it easy. You only need $299. And then the following month, providing you're happy with everything that you've learned in the class, now you can make the second investment of $299 to get your real estate license. But if you're not happy with what you learned in first class, then you don't have to spend the $299 on the second class, because now you learned that this class was not for you, real estate was not for you. And so I do it this way because there are times that some of us would like to get in the real estate business, but after taking the class, we realize maybe there's an easier way. This is probably not for me. All right. It's great money. It's excellent money, ladies and gentlemen, but you do have to have some knowledge in this business. And that's what this class is all about. So if I can get you to invest $299 in yourself, it'll be the best investment you ever made, hands down, bar none, without any exaggerations, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not making a claim that I can't back up. Read my reviews, ladies and gentlemen. Hear my reviews. I can back it. I assure you of that. So when you come to my class, and you can come into it over and over again, you will get the education that you were seeking when you set out to find a real estate class. Now, I'm running a Father's Day special until the end of the month. I know it's only a couple of days, but if you're in a position to be able to take advantage of it, then take advantage of it. If you're not, then isn't that the way it always works? But in any event, I'll throw it out there anyway. So save $100, ladies and gentlemen. Very rarely do I do this. I don't do nothing for free. I need you to invest in yourself. So nothing for free, but $100 is $100, right? So if you want to make your payment of $299 before June 30th, then we'll take $50 off of that $299, making it $249. And on your second payment of $299, we'll take $50 off of that one under the Father's Day promotion. So you're saving $100 on the class, $50 off the first and $50 off the second. So, but that's only for those who can sign up before June 30th, and you don't need to sign up for both classes, only the one class, $299, and you'll take $50 off of that one, $249. And then next month, when you pay for your second class, instead of it being $299, it'll be $249. That will give you the $100 difference. Now, again, as I said, I prefer to have the extra $100, but again, I do like to try to make it something, throw something out there that would make it financially feasible for my students, that maybe, that $50 could be the make or break if you could sign up this month or not. But again, as I said, it's something. At least I try to do something. As I said, I'm already pretty much the lowest price school out there already. And I got food to put on the table, got bills to pay, and my accountant will not allow me to get, my accountant freaked out. She didn't want to go more than $50, 25 on each class. So understand, ladies and gentlemen, I really do got to go through a lot to try to give you this discount, because my accountant, she's doing her job. God bless her. I'd be giving the business away if it wasn't for her. So she was not keen on $100, but again, that's it. So the June 30th, ladies and gentlemen, you want to save $100 on this class. On top of that, by all means, please, if you're in a position to do so, may I encourage you to do so. But in any event, please do invest in your knowledge and in your future, ladies and gentlemen. Taking this class, you will have no regrets. And you know that once you invest in the class, you can come to this class over and over and over again anytime you want. So there's an investment in your future as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I am looking forward to seeing you in my classroom. I'm looking forward to making you a licensed real estate professional. I am Warren Nelson. I am a licensed real estate broker in the state of Pennsylvania, 30 years of experience, and I have plenty of acclimates and license to go on. Suffice it to say, I am qualified to teach this class and much more to benefit you in life's journey. So I hope to see you in my class, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, next Monday, same time, same channel, 6 to 7, I'm here. And for those who I did not get the link to in time, my apologies. I apologize. It was just so many things and the calls came in at the last minute. The show's got to start at 6 o'clock. I start this live stream show at 6. So if I didn't get the link to you before the show, my apologies. I will send you a rebroadcast of it, and you will have the links to the next week's show before the class starts on July 19th. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you enjoyed it. I like to give little tidbits about what you're going to be learning. Here's the answer to our question, ladies and gentlemen. The question was, if you buy a property here in Pennsylvania with a 30-year mortgage, do you own that property day one, or do you own that property 30 years later when you make your final payment? The answer is, in Pennsylvania, day one, ladies and gentlemen. I told you, don't get the deed and the mortgage mixed up. You get the deed to the property day one, so what? You got a 30-year mortgage. The loan has nothing to do with the ownership of the property. So this is what we teach in the class. Don't get the mortgage and the deed mixed up, ladies and gentlemen. One means you own the property. The other one means you have a loan. All right. So in Pennsylvania, when you buy a property with a 30-year mortgage, you get the deed day one. We'll talk about the difference between a deed theory state and a lien theory state. Like Pennsylvania's a lien theory, which means the bank only has a lien against the property. You own that property day one. This is why you will be taking my class, ladies and gentlemen, to learn this and many, many, many more things that you just didn't know or you thought you knew, to find out that we can't actually do it that way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Warren Nelson. This is OnlineRealEstateSchoolInc.com. I hope it's going to be your alma mater. Thank you for all your questions and comments. Obviously, I don't have enough time to answer all of them. I will reply for them. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the audience, and I look forward to seeing you again shortly, ladies and gentlemen, in your real estate journey. Be safe, be healthy, be happy.